Alright, we're back for the last round. Let's take a look at our opener. Well, I find it pretty difficult to mulligan hands with a pair of brainstorms, and we finally get to draw our lingering souls, so maybe this hand won't be so bad. Hopefully we're playing against not a treasure cruise deck. That's my hope. Although we could very easily just die to Belcher on turn 1. Island leading into Ponder is a little suspect. It could be some sort of mono blue deck like High Tide or potentially Show and Tell Omniscience or Omni Show. But it also could just be Blue Red Delver and he just led with an island that he drew. Either way is fine. Don't really want to burn that brainstorm here on his end step. We're going to go and play our land to play our own days just in case. Play the Marsh Flats and put back a few of these non-fetches since they're so valuable with Ponder and Brainstorm, and just go ahead and cast our Deathrite Shaman. Now, really hoping he doesn't go City of Traders into Omniscience. Plains. Alright, well that's not so bad. I don't mind him Swords of Plowsharing a Deathrite Shaman. This probably means he's Miracles, so we're going to play like he's Miracles and just go ahead and cast this Lingering Souls. And if he has a Spell Pierce, then that's fine because we get to potentially flash it back next turn. So Lingering Soul is actually pretty good against Miracles. It is almost always a 2-for-1, allows you to blank some of the removal. They have to have a Terminus basically to fully get rid of it. Okay, that's a little weird. Alright, well, I don't really want to flash back the Lingering Souls just yet. Although, I think we just want to attack here. Probably just Brainstorm into Stoneforge Mystic. It's a little awkward that this keeps popping up, so we're just going to move our graveyard over here so we can see it a little better. Actually, I'm going to Ponder instead of Brainstorm, and probably just end up keeping like one of these cards if... Yeah, I'm just going to keep 0 of these cards actually. And cast Stoneforge Mystic. Luckily, he doesn't have actual counterspell mana up, and very rarely do they play Spell Snare. So, we'll get Batterskull for now, since it's a recurable threat. Jitte is not that bad against them, since it allows you to make any of your guys into a real threat. We don't have another land, which is great. So we are going to just attack with these two guys. I think we're going to Brainstorm, put back the Batterskull, and then just Stoneforge it up again. Now he may Pyroblast us or whatever, but luckily he does not. We will go and play our land, try to resolve a Stoneforge, and save these shuffles for later. It's possible I wanted to keep a land over this Swords of Plowshares, but... Oh, we forgot to put back the Batterskull. Oh well, we'll just get Jitte. Sorry. It's not a huge deal. Alright. And remember, we still have this Lingering Souls to flashback too, which is nice. This is a little awkward. Now he's probably going to Brainstorm and put Terminus back, so he probably can't even... Oh, he bounced our guy instead. Okay. Huh. So we can attack the Jace to 1 and then just cast the Batterskull. I don't hate that. We could also have played an equipped Jitte and attacked it, but it's not that big of a deal. I want to save that Lingering Souls for a little while, I think. We're just going to go ahead and cast this. And if he opts to just Jace bounce the Germ, we're fine with that, because then he traded his Jace for half of a Batterskull and a quarter of a Lingering Souls. It's possible that he'll go Jace Brainstorm, put back a Terminus, play top, and then try to Terminus us on our turn. What we can also do is, if we draw a blue card specifically, we can click him in response to the trigger on Terminus and put it onto the bottom of the deck. It's a little odd that he went ahead and Baneslayer Angel? Well, that's a new one. Okay, well, luckily we have Source of Plowshares, so we're just going to plow that and then attack his Jace and kill it. I have not seen that card in Legacy. I'm not going to say ever, but not in a long time, if ever. I think I played against it once out of, like, Nick Fit. I mean, if he wants to... Okay, so he's misdirecting to the Germ. We're just going to go ahead and force that just to make sure we get his Baneslayer gone and kill his Jace. And we're going to go ahead and play this GT and equip. I probably should have held the land in case I drew something to... you know, like a Brainstorm to shuffle it back, but I'm okay with this. And we still have the Lingering Souls in the graveyard, which is nice. He's only got one card in hand. If he Terminuses us, we still have 2 counters on the GT with the Lingering Souls in the graveyard, which is sweet. He could be playing some weird, just like 3-color Blood Moon deck. People like to do some crazy stuff in Legacy, so... Alright, well, we'll just remove everything but the Lingering Souls that matters. Not a bad top deck. You'll draw 3. Yeah, Pyroblast. That's pretty common main deck out of the Miracles decks. Not too surprised to see that. We could have moved the GT over to the Germ to gain more life, but our life total is mostly irrelevant in this matchup. So I think I would much rather keep my threats just like separated and pretty decently big. So we have the potential to deal him 9 damage next turn, and he's at 10. And even though this is a little greedy, and he could just draw Terminus, I think it's worth it to put him on a 1-turn clock here, since we do have the option to just, you know, bounce the Batterskull and replay it if he does draw Terminus. So it's not that detrimental. But yeah, he just concedes. Alrighty, well, I guess we want Meddling Mages and the Sword of Feast and Famine. And probably the Force of Will and the Jace. And even though he has Baneslayer Angel, which was kind of weird, I don't know, it's strange. So I definitely want to cut the Zealous Persecution. The Source of Plowshares, I guess they can just go. And if he draws the Baneslayer, I just need to have a counterspell for it, or the Jace to bounce it. We can probably get rid of this GT. I think that's fine. I like all these other cards against him, so we'll try this. If this sideboard strategy doesn't work out so well, we can alter it after the next game. Alright, so this hand is pretty good. I think we're probably going to hold up for the Spell Pierce on turn 2, just to make sure we don't get hit by a counterbalance, but he is mulliganing to 5. What that also does, it allows us to, on turn 2, go Thoughtseize with Spell Pierce backup, so that's nice. So we're not afraid of Wasteland, so we're just going to lead with the Tundra over the Misty Rainforest in case we end up wanting to Brainstorm and then shuffle away 1 card. It's not too terribly likely, but it's possible. Alright, give me 1 second here. We're lagging a little bit. Alright, well, I'm just going to go ahead and fetch Underground C. I kind of just want to jam the Stoneforge Mystic. If he has a counterspell, I'm okay with that. But I want to just cripple his hand here, because if he has Brainstorm, we can Spell Pierce it, and then the Thoughtseize will resolve and we'll take his best spell, which is great. Unfortunately, if he doesn't do anything, then we're not going to get too much advantage out of it. Alright, so he's cracking his land in response. I feel like this just means he's going to cast Counterspell. Or attempt to, anyway. And then we'll just go for the Pierce and take his, like, Jace or whatever. Yeah, I don't know what he could get, but I'd rather him not be able to get it. Even though he could just, like, spend his whole next turn, like, casting Rest in Peace and then me spell piercing it, but yeah, so I guess maybe he's going to get Rest in Peace and that'll shut down these treasure cruises, but maybe we can shuffle them away with a Brainstorm. But I'm going to relog real quick, and since we're locking up a little bit, I'll be right back. Alright, well, we got Blood Moon, so I think... Alright, so we'll play this couple turns out here and see if we... Yeah, so he's got a land and a Power Blast, so... Yeah, he's just gonna cast Blood Moon, and we're gonna die. So that's cool. We have exactly Batterskull that we can cast. I'm just gonna concede for time's sake. There's no reason to play this out. I mean, even if I was able to win this game, it would just take forever and be really dumb, and he'd have to get super unlucky. So we're going to sideboard real quick, and then I'm going to relog, and then we'll be good to go. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think I just kind of have to hope that he doesn't have Enlightened Tutor into Blood Moon. That's basically all I got. Alright, so we're on the play for game 3. Let's take a look. Okay, not so bad. I'm going to lead off here with... Deathrite in his Stoneforge. If he draws or if he plays a fetch land and cracks it, we could potentially get an extra mana off this Deathrite Shaman, though I don't know if that's going to be entirely necessary. But mostly we're just going to be saving this Spell Pierce and this Force Will for Blood Moon, if possible. Engineering Explosives for 1. Yeah, deal. We're okay with that. We don't give a crap about this Deathrite Shaman, buddy. Alright, and we're going to make the safe play here and just go ahead and resolve Stoneforge Mystic while he's tapped out. Most people side out Force Will in these kind of matchups, so it's very likely this survives. And I'm going to go ahead and go get Feast and Famine, put a little pressure on his hand, and basically force him to kill every threat I play. And I even have the Force Will to protect it. Protect the Stoneforge Mystic so that I do get to keep the creature in play, since my Deathrite Shaman is most likely dying. Alright, well that's good. Luckily I get to ponder as well. Some lands. I don't think I really need those. Just gonna toss those. Alright, well we can Meddling Mage naming Blood Moon maybe. But we're just gonna go ahead and put this sword into play, try to put some pressure on him. Maybe next turn play Stoneforge with Spell Pierce backup. Depending on what he does. Alright, well that's pretty interesting. So we can actually just name Engineering Explosives with our Meddling Mage. So that's nice. Now I'm just going to go for the full-blown, try to get as much value as we can out of our lands. And we're going to Stoneforge Mystic before we Meddling Mage. If he wants to counter this, that's okay. I assume he's just going to go for the put explosives back on top, so he's okay letting most of this stuff resolve. So he's forcing that pitching Snapcaster Mage. That's a deal. We are okay with that. Alright. Dealy 3, hope this works. Alright, well, we get to untap. Let's see what he discards. Alright, so right now we are untapping after he discards, and depending on what he discards, we're probably going to be playing Meddling Mage and naming Engineer Explosives, and then using Force Will to make sure our Meddling Mage never dies. Or not never dies, but make it much harder for him to kill. Alright, well, he discards Baneslayer Angel. Alright, well, we'll cast Melee Mage, name it Engineering Explosives so he can Academy Ruins it back and blow us out. And use Force Will basically on Plow and Terminus at this point. Just try to pressure him with these two guys. Maybe draw something big in the meanwhile. A Jace here. We'll probably just Spell Pierce it. Maybe a Supreme Verdict? That'd be gross. But no. Thankfully, it is just a Jace. We get to counter it. And then attack for 5. Knock his last card out of his hand. If we draw a land, we get to hold up Force Will or a blue card. Alright, well, that's good. We got him in the soft lock, boys. And he made him discard Dig Through Time. That's awesome. Dig Through Time is a pretty sweet one in Miracles, to be honest. Looks like he drew another Dig Through Time. Looks like he's... Whenever these red cards get highlighted, that means I drew a dredge card. So I guess it could potentially be Treasure Cruise, but since he's already shown us a Dig Through Time, yeah. Alright, so we'll just go ahead and crack this fetch. Hardcast Force and hope that he misses on the top of his deck next turn. Because he could very easily draw like Verdict, Terminus, Swords of Plowshares, etc., etc. That was pretty good. So we're going to hit him for 5. Oh man, that was bad. We could have... Yeah, we could have played Stoneforge Mystic and then cast our Batter Skull as well, but I think he's... I mean, basically he's mostly dead. Just hoping he doesn't peel Terminus. Because even if he draws Plow, he can only plow this guy, and then he's dead to the rest. So, alright guys, well, that is the 4 rounds with Deathblade, and I do want to take a few minutes here at the end of this match to really talk about the deck and where we go from here and how the format evolves from here, because I think that Legacy is a pretty complex format, but it did get shaken up with the addition of Delve cards to the format, namely Treasure Cruise. And I don't think that this is the best Treasure Cruise by a wide margin, but I do think that this deck is solid. You know, we did lose twice to the Delver decks, which didn't happen before because we were usually able to grind them out, but now that they all have access to Treasure Cruise and they can cast it faster than we can, things got a lot harder, and we probably have to adapt. And I know that this deck beat a couple Delver decks on its way to winning the StarCityGames Open a few weeks ago, but his list was a little different than mine. Perhaps I'm doing things wrong, and he did things right, and I can't recall his name, and I apologize. But you know, I know what I want to be doing, and that's casting Treasure Cruise. And if the best way to do that is to play Delver decks, then I guess I'm just gonna have to move on Delver decks until something's done about the card. You know, I don't know if Treasure Cruise is actually bannable. It just makes me uncomfortable, and I find that there are some cards that have come out in the last couple of years that have made me uncomfortable, but didn't really warrant a ban. And namely, I think True Name Nemesis was the card most recently that I thought should not have been printed to begin with, but I don't think it's powerful enough to be banned. I think Treasure Cruise might actually fit into that same category because, you know, there are a lot of really powerful things you can do in Legacy, and if people are going to be complaining about, you know, a situational draw 3 cards, I don't know if it really is gonna find. I don't know if we're gonna find that it's just way too hard to beat. It's possible that Delver strategies just put so much pressure on the opponent with their early creatures, as well as their really cheap disruption, and Treasure Cruise just rewards you for having a lot of ways to interact with your opponent in the early turns of the game. Means that it is just going to be the best card you can draw at most points in the game. So it is just very good in those strategies. And since Delver was already a dominant factor in Legacy for a long time, adding Treasure Cruise to the mix just kind of makes that a little awkward. And I know that Brainstorm has shown up in most blue decks in Legacy for years now, and it hasn't been banned. And Treasure Cruise, it just feels gross. That's all I really can say about the card. I don't know if it's too powerful. It just feels gross. I don't want to play with it really. I feel dirty when I do. I don't want to play against it ever. So, if that's the case, then maybe something's wrong. So, regardless, we have to play with it for at least a few more months. I doubt anything will happen to it anytime soon. But, yeah, it's a Delver world we're living in, and we there have to find a good way to beat them, or we just got to adapt it and play it ourselves. So, anyway, guys, that's all for me this week. Sorry I didn't win more with the deck, but I do think Deathblade has promise. It definitely just needs to be built better than what I did. I think the changes I made it a little worse, and my theories behind some of the cards, a la Zealous Persecution, might need some work. Vendilion Click also felt a little underwhelming. Probably want to just go back and play some True Name Gnosis and stuff like that. But anyway, that's all for me this week. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.